What's up everybody, my name is Vincent. Welcome to Cryptolution, where we talk about everything under the moon in the crypto universe. Today's Thursday, May 14th. Now in today's video, we need to talk about some catalyst events that are happening for DOG and the crypto market. So basically what we just saw this morning was that there was going to be a Clarity Act vote on the Senate Banking Committee floor. Now what was going to happen after that determines if this bill is going to be moved up into the Senate, and the Senate determines that this bill is going to be instated within the United States, making regulation within the United States pretty much amazing for crypto and builders and developers and investors in this country. But also we have to talk about the new Fed chair because he's just been sworn in. And how's the crypto market reacting to all this news? How's DOG reacting to this news? Well, I want to share with you what's going on chain regarding DOG, because apparently all these Binance linked wallets and market makers have actually ceased their operations today, and I wonder why. So I'll share with you some on-chain data to just share with you the behaviors that they're doing right now. So let's start by smashing that like button, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to join us on X. Please be careful with any of the scammers down in the comments below. I'll never reach out via WhatsApp, Telegram, direct messaging, or email, so please be careful and invest safely. Guys and girls, let's get right into it. Okay, so DOG right now is roughly up around 3.11% over the past 24 hours. Now, when I scroll down to where the trading volume is for these exchanges, notice that there's not really that much trading volume. Bitget's only 40,000, Gate is 76, Mexi 66, Kraken's 82. Now, these are extremely low levels, and I'll share with you in just a little bit why these levels are pretty low. I believe it's very intentional. But before we begin, as I mentioned before, we're doing the DOG Bitcoin Silver Medallion giveaway. All you need to do is follow my X account, follow C2 Blockchain, and most importantly, join my X subscription for just $1. I will be choosing somebody and only one person in the subscribers on my X channel as the winner for this silver medallion worth around $699. So I'll be announcing that next Tuesday on May 19th. Now, let's look at Bitcoin's price. It's roughly still at 81,000. Yesterday it was at 79. So it's up 2.49% because it's reacting to this very positive news regarding the Clarity Act. Now let's talk about meme coins. Meme coins not doing so bad. You can see that some coins are up 2%, maybe even up 5 to 6%. Let's go and scroll down to where DOG Bitcoin is. DOG Bitcoin is at 280 ranking, up 3% in the past 24 hours. Now let's talk about the macro landscape and these catalysts that are very bullish for DOG and crypto. So yesterday, the White House has just announced that Kevin Warsh has been sworn in as the chairman of the Federal Reserve. He's going to be replacing Jerome Powell. Now, Trump is a huge supporter of this guy because he believes that this person is going to be cutting rates. Now, there is some talk around town that because of the CPI inflation data being higher than expected, that this should not allow for rate cuts to happen, considering that the Federal Reserve isn't just determined by one man, it's determined by many different people within the Federal Reserve to make that decision. But as mentioned before, Kevin Warsh has been considered one of Trump's favorites because he may cut rates aggressively, maybe even up 20, 50, some people even think 100%. So we'll just see what happens. But either way, we won't have Jerome Powell, who's been such a huge component in why the crypto market has not been doing well. But let's not just stop there, because if it's not just that as a catalyst event, there's also this other one. So the Senate Banking Committee just voted today on advancing the Clarity Act. Now, what we saw was that there's a lot of back and forth between some Democrats and Republicans. Now, Senator Warren, who is heavily backed by banks, was like one of the only people fighting against this bill. But in the end, she ended up losing. What did happen? Well, the Clarity Act did get passed. It's now advancing to the Senate floor. 15 were in favor of the vote and 9 opposed it. And there are even some Democrats that were in favor for this bill being passed and moving on to the Senate floor. Now, overall, what we know is that once this bill heads to the Senate floor, based on the information that we know today, is that there's a majority of Republicans and some Democrats that want to pass this bill, meaning that there's more likely a chance, just based on the current climate conditions within the Senate, that this most likely will pass the Senate floor and head over to the president's desk to be signed into law. And I think this is going to be very positive for crypto, especially within the United States and the world overall this year. And this is because once people see that this is going to be passed within the United States, usually other countries follow, usually later. This typically happens. Usually the United States is always the leading frontier, and then other countries follow suit right after, especially Asia. Now, the Clarity Act provides two different things, right? It not only provides the regulatory framework within the US, but it decides the boundaries that the SEC and the CFTC can engage in. So this was the problem with cryptocurrency within the United States is that both departments, the SEC and CFTC, didn't know exactly where they were drawing the line from, meaning they didn't know what they were assigned to. So it wasn't really clear. That's what the Clarity Act does. It literally provides clarity on who is assigned a specific role. And because of this allows for less manipulation, hopefully, after this bill is signed, that crypto exchanges can't be doing what they're doing right now. I'm talking about the ones that are overseas, like Binance, OKX, BitGet, Gate.io, MEXC. Basically, all these other exchanges that are overseas, they can't be doing the things that they're doing right now, like manipulating the market price, manipulating the market itself. This is why they call it a market structure bill, because it allows for customers within the US to be protected. Because of that, there'll be less manipulation. And if there's less manipulation, that means that this is very positive for crypto to come back up in a most healthy and sustainable way. I know some people have some opposition around this. Some people don't like it because, it doesn't support like stable coins or whatever. But I mean, there's the trade-off, right? Not everybody can win. Now let's look into Bitcoin. So yesterday, remember this wallet that I mentioned earlier? Yesterday it was ending in EG74. Well, for a while I was thinking that this was some retail, meaning this was a retail person trading in and out. But its behavior has been really strange. And it's actually, what I found out yesterday is that during its history, I tracked down different wallets of where it was sourced from. It started off with 10,000, then it increased to 32,000, then it increased to 79,000. So basically, this wallet keeps changing and switching its funds to different wallets, and in the end has roughly around close to 80,000 US dollars worth of dog, meaning that's only in one wallet. Okay, so why am I saying that? So there are two different wallets I want you to pay attention to. It's this one over here and this one over here. Now notice that they almost have the exact same portion of dog tokens. And why is that? Well, it's because they actually use an intermediary wallet that has 84,000 US dollars, which is roughly around 1 Bitcoin in funds, meaning this two wallets are being funded by this specific wallet, which doesn't hold any dog at all. So it has 84,000 to trade back and forth between these two different wallets. And to me, this actually looks like it's wash trading, meaning that this wallet isn't using centralized exchanges just based on what I've seen. In fact, it's using things like DotSwap to trade dog back and forth. So this is what I'm seeing on chain. So this to me, it's not enough to manipulate the dog price, in my personal perspective, because it's a small amount of dog, but still, this is a wallet that I've just noticed is pretty much wash trading, and it's something you just can't avoid. Now, let's also focus on some recent activity that I saw yesterday. So yesterday, I saw that there was a whole bunch of wallets working together to kind of compile their funds in order to inject it into MEXC, which in the end ended up being 30,000 US dollars or 32 million dog tokens. That was just yesterday. And then I saw that this morning, check this out. So the most inflows that we saw was actually on MEXC. So no surprise, a lot of those inflows were going into MEXC potentially to move or influence the dog price. And I think its intention was to mimic behavior, retail behavior, to trick retail into selling their bags. Keep in mind, the long-term holder count is still at 80%, meaning retail's not trading, they're not selling, they're not doing anything that's going to be too drastic. They're hodling. And remember, this 80% isn't just retail. It's also these Binance linked wallets that have been accumulating dog, spreading them through a neural network of wallets, keeping them on chain, buying them off of exchanges so that they can have a certain bag of their own. So this is why we're seeing minimal trading volume in my perspective, because they're just trying to mimic retail behavior to trick you to thinking that dogs are not going anywhere and they want you to sell your bag. So don't do that. That's why we're not seeing a lot of outflows right now. So this is a suspicious activity. Keep in mind, they are doing this for a reason. They're not just like ceasing operations out of nowhere. They're doing it for a reason. So never underestimate these people that are these manipulated Binance leaked wallets. They're doing all this for a reason. So we'll just sit back and relax. Now, let's look into trading analysis. Right now, dog and the crypto market is still in green. Nothing's changed too much. We're still trending upwards. But right now, we're just waiting for the Clarity Act to pass on the Senate floor. No one's really reacting too positively or negatively due to the Clarity Act moving past the Senate Banking Committee. Overall, just given the overall atmosphere, this is very bullish for crypto. That's just my personal opinion. But that doesn't mean that there won't be any manipulation. There could be a major liquidation because maybe people are setting their long positions to go up for Bitcoin, that maybe there are sellers that want to liquidate those long positions and create a huge liquidation event. So it doesn't mean that crypto is going to go up right away. I expect that there's going to be another dip, but that's just my personal opinion. So let me know your thoughts down below. I just shared with you the personal catalyst events that are going on and the very weird minimal activity that's going on within these exchanges and the weird transfers that are going on in Mexi. There's always something going on with Dog. These guys are not doing this for no reason. They always have something planned. And maybe they're just waiting for what's going on with the Clarity Act. Who knows, right? But I wanted to share this news with you today because there's a lot of great things that we were seeing happening in Congress, and it's going to be very positive for crypto in the long run regardless. So with that said, I want to thank our sponsors, Trucker Biff and C2 Blockchain. Make sure to smash up that like button, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to join us on X to receive all of our off calls and updates regarding Dog and Moon. Till then, see you guys and girls next time.